Hanoka Takiya, a seemingly unremarkable high school student, found himself seated next to Ayaka Takari, a girl admired for her beauty, intelligence, and popularity. Despite her esteemed status, unknown to many, she was also a witch. Hanoka, considering himself quite ordinary, never imagined befriending someone as extraordinary as Ayaka. Their interaction began when Ayaka kindly returned Hanoka's eraser that had fallen near her bench. This act of kindness led to Hanoka being bullied and warned to steer clear of Ayaka. Destiny, however, had other plans for Hanoka. While on garbage duty, he discovered a rabbit doll in the trash, shortly before a building collapsed on him. Prepared for the worst, Hanoka was surprisingly rescued by Ayaka. She revealed her mission as a witch was to protect him. When they were ambushed by rabbits, Ayaka's quick thinking and fire magic saved them both. Hanoka, confused by Ayaka referring to him as her princess rather than prince, grew concerned when her hair caught fire during the battle. Ayaka's decision to sit with Hanoka at school and accompany him stirred resentment among her fan club. Despite her persistence in keeping Hanoka close, his frustration with her stubbornness caused a rift between them. Meanwhile, Hanoka learned of Tanpo Kiri, the mastermind behind the rabbit attack, who sought to capture him. Ayaka valiantly defended Hanoka, revealing her invulnerability to physical harm due to her fiery composition. Realizing his self-centered attitude, Hanoka chose to trust Ayaka, who swiftly defeated Tanpo's army. The next day brought the introduction of 5 new students, all tower witches, with unknown motives for targeting Hanoka. When Hanoka found himself in a torture room instead of his classroom, he learned Ayaka had captured 4 of the new witches, acting on her suspicion of their intentions. Tanpo disclosed Ayaka's role as a workshop witch, protecting Hanoka from those seeking a mysterious substance within him. After Ayaka and the tower witches sustained similar injuries, Hanoka, now aware of the dangers surrounding him, requested Ayaka teach him magic. Elsewhere, a meeting between tower witch Kronar Schwartz and workshop witch Kazan hinted at a larger conflict involving Medusa's followers. Ayaka shared the distinction between workshop witches, guardians against the misuse of magic in human settlements, and tower witches, known for their self-serving use of magic. The true aims of the tower witches remained a mystery. Ayaka and Hanoka, visiting a maid cafe, encountered the student council vice president, who was also a workshop witch. She expressed concern about the rising number of tower witches in town. During a shopping trip, they encountered Ai, a seemingly kind girl who turned hostile upon recognizing Hanoka. Ai, a tower witch, along with 2 companions, attacked them, but Ayaka easily subdued them and rescued a lost child. Feeling like a burden, Hanoka wondered why Ayaka didn't seal or hide him to avoid trouble. However, Ayaka reassured him and decided to teach him magic. They returned to their school, which was revealed to be the Ultima Seria workshop, headed by Kazan, the principal and Ayaka's mother. Kazan reprimanded Ayaka for causing destruction within the school. In accordance with witch customs, Hanoka was introduced to Kazan as Ayaka's prospective apprentice. During an attack by Tanpo and her allies, Hanoka tried to learn from Ayaka's fighting style, but the battle ended too quickly for him to grasp anything significant. At school, Hanoka discovered his locker filled with death threats, a stark contrast to Ayaka's locker, which, managed daily by her fan club, remained free of love letters. Ayaka's grand welcome at school and her tutoring of Hanoka during sports period incited jealousy among her fan club. After school, an encounter with Kronar Schwartz on a bus led to a tense situation. Kronar used magic to immobilize Ayaka and attempted to harm Hanoka. However, Hanoka's injuries were mysteriously transferred to Ayaka, revealing a contract between them that allowed Ayaka to borrow Hanoka's power and become an invisible witch. This contract, as Kronar explained, indicated a strong bond and a shared past between Hanoka and Ayaka. Kronar offered Hanoka a dark pill that would unleash his hidden power, intending to feed it to him. Ayaka, transforming into a powerful form with green flames, managed to destroy Kronar. However, Kronar survived and vowed to confront Ayaka again on Walpuri's night. Hanoka, upon reopening his eyes, found himself in the unconscious Ayaka at the bus stop. He took her to the school dormitory, where he was informed that Ayaka was merely sleeping. Reflecting on his past, Hanoka felt a sense of familiarity with Ayaka, as if they had known each other before his time at the school. He discovered the pill given by Kronar in his pocket, choosing to keep it for future use rather than consuming it immediately. The next day, Ayaka began Hanoka's formal training. She dressed him in witch robes, amused by his appearance, and encouraged him to test their properties. Hanoka realized the robes made him lighter, a fact Ayaka pointed out, calling him naive for not understanding sooner. Elsewhere, Ten Popo's team encountered Ai's team. Ayaka demonstrated to Hanoka the summoning of a broom, which he initially struggled with. Despite his concern about being seen in the robes, Ayaka reassured him that ordinary people would neither notice nor obstruct witches. During their flight, Ayaka showed Hanoka how workshop witches conducted their daily patrols. Exhausted, Hanoka fell asleep and later awoke as they returned to school. Observing a girl being robbed, Hanoka, despite Ayaka's explanation that witches only intervene with magical threats, felt compelled to help. Successfully summoning his broom, He clumsily thwarted the robbers, who Ayaka identified as tower witches trying to bait Hinoka. Meanwhile, the security guards at Renberg, guarding the sealed Medusa, dismissed the threat as mere rumor. However, their complacency was shattered when Medusa smiled and the crystal confining her began to crack. Tanpo and her team plotted to target Hinoka when he was vulnerable and away from Ayaka, strategizing their next move in their ongoing confrontation. Tanpo and her allies, realizing Ayaka and Hinoka were inseparable, were joined by Kronoir in their plotting. Hinoka, meanwhile, had a morning encounter with his sister Kasumi, who tidied him up and inquired about the girl who had called him. Aware of the rumors linking Hinoka and Ayaka, and having followed them on a shopping trip, Kasumi was curious about their relationship but decided to not press the issue. As Hinoka pondered whether to inform Kasumi about Ayaka, he narrowly avoided missing the bus, only to be ambushed by Tanpo. Tanpo's friends occupied Ayaka, following Kronoir's strategy to attack when Ayaka and Hinoka were separated. Hinoka, feeling vulnerable, was surprised when Tanpo was attacked by a giant bear controlled by Kasumi. Kasumi, revealing her witch abilities, easily overpowered Tanpo and her ally Ren. In the ensuing battle, she enlarged her bear to a monstrous size, causing an explosion that subdued her opponents. Kazan's peaceful day was disrupted by news of this explosion. Hinoka, shocked to learn of Kasumi's witch powers, rushed to check on Ayaka, only to find her unharmed. Kasumi expressed jealousy over Hinoka's concern for Ayaka. She and Ayaka had apparently arranged a schedule to accompany Hinoka, a rule Ayaka had broken by spending the weekend with him. Kasumi also warned of the increasing tower witch presence in town. Ayaka proposed that Hinoka live with her for constant protection. Meanwhile, Kroner ordered the capture of all tower witches in town. Kazan received alarming news about Medusa's escape, fearing the impending turmoil. Ayaka visited Hinoka's home to discuss living arrangements with his mother, Kamachi. Kamachi was delighted to see Ayaka and revealed her past friendship and close bond with Ayaka's mother, Kazan. The two women had been classmates and had once desired to marry each other. Kazan and Kamachi, unable to marry each other due to societal norms, had married men and later agreed to unite their children in marriage. However, they prioritized the feelings of Hinoka and Ayaka over this arrangement. Kamachi, observing the apparent affection between Hinoka and Ayaka, felt reassured about their relationship. Hinoka, unable to articulate why they wanted to live together, faced opposition from his sister Kasumi, who was obsessively protective of him. Kamachi intervened, allowing Hinoka to leave with Ayaka. Ayaka, questioning Hinoka about his willingness to cohabit, received a response affirming his sense of safety and a vague sense of a shared past with her. Both felt as if there were forgotten memories between them, mysteries intertwined with the mystery of Hinoka's power. As they approached Ayaka's home, Hinoka was taken aback by the opulence of her 41-story residence. They used a transparent elevator to ascend to Ayaka's room, only to find Medusa awaiting them. Ayaka quickly ushered Hinoka to the 12th floor for safety before engaging in combat with Medusa. Trapped in the elevator and unable to open its door, Hinoka felt a strong urge to assist Ayaka, believing she needed his help against such a formidable foe. Donning his robe, he prepared for battle, just as the elevator door began to melt, signaling his opportunity to join Ayaka in the fight. While facing Medusa, Hinoka remembered his limited combat abilities. Ayaka, petrified by Medusa, was in peril. Realizing Ayaka's soul was bound to his, Hinoka consumed the pill given by Kronoir, summoning Evermillion. Evermillion's battle against Medusa inadvertently caused destruction, including the collapse of Kazan's house. Tanpo and her friends, in their new club room, witnessed the chaos. Kazan, enraged by the damage, summoned all workshop witches for assistance. Hinoka, desperate to revive Ayaka, agreed to Evermillion's initial demand for his eyes, but she was merely testing him. She instructed Hinoka to kiss Ayaka to break Medusa's partial petrification. Reluctantly, Hinoka did so, reviving Ayaka. Evermillion warned Hinoka against summoning her again before disappearing. Medusa regained consciousness and ordered her students to attack, but Ayaka swiftly defeated them. When Hinoka regained consciousness, he was in the school's nurse office, with Ayaka and a now friendly Medusa, who had been offered shelter by Ayaka. Kazan had called upon all workshop witches, including Kasumi. Ayaka, focused solely on Hinoka's safety, ignored everything else. Hinoka brought Ayaka to his house, deciding she would live there. Meanwhile, Kronar was captured by Kazan, known among witches as the Torturer. Kasumi, returning from her search for Medusa, was outraged to find Ayaka and Hinoka together, leading to a confrontation with her mother, Kamachi. After Hinoka intervened, Kasumi realized her error and apologized. At school, the student council president, Sadak Kao, reprimanded the fan club for their failure to handle Hinoka. Despite Kenny's explanation that they were warned off by Ayaka, Sadak Kao demanded action. She tasked Kaio Kairo, the vice president, with resolving the issue. Kaio Kairo met Hinoka and Ayaka at the school gate, expressing concern over the disruptions caused by their association. He explained the school's tradition of electing a representative based on various factors, including looks and talents. Ayaka, already elected as the princess, had faced rumors since Hanoka's involvement with her. Kairo urged Hanoka to distance himself from Ayaka, but as a teacher, he had no authority over the princess. Ayaka reassured him she had a plan, which relieved Kairo. He then used magic to transport Hanoka to another dimension, revealing a replica of the pill that summoned Evermillion. Hanoka had 5 seals within him that kept Evermillion bound. Consuming the pill broke the first seal. Kairo warned that Kazan, a powerful witch, would become Hanoka's enemy if the seals were broken, as she had allowed Hanoka to live freely under the condition the seals remained intact. Only Kazan could prevent the remaining seals from breaking. In the midst of searching for Medusa, Kazan was informed by Kairo about the broken seal, advising Hanoka to keep it secret. Kairo, harboring jealousy towards Ayaka for her closeness with Hanoka, playfully suggested becoming Hanoka's prince. Suddenly, Ayaka interrupted, rescuing Hanoka from the alternate dimension and taking him to the announcement room. There, Noah called everyone to the gym, where Ayaka, rarely heard in public, announced Hanoka as the new student council president, replacing Kenny. This move was Ayaka's strategy to eliminate opposition. TCO also resigned her vice presidential role in favor of Ayaka, causing discontent among the student council members. Hanoka, rejecting the harsh script prepared by Ayaka, proposed a temporary acceptance of his presidency. Meanwhile, Kasumi plotted to separate Hanoka from Ayaka. During a shopping trip, a car crashed into the store, and Ayaka was tranquilized by Kasumi, who then abducted Hanoka. Ayaka pursued them, and in the ensuing chaos, both Hanoka and an unconscious Kasumi were saved by Ayaka. After the incident, Hanoka reflected on the enigmatic nature of little sisters. Ayaka, understanding the sibling bond, whimsically suggested Hanoka call her big sister, a request he found awkward. Eventually, Ayaka fell asleep, and Hanoka noticed the toys he bought were ruined. Hanoka's evening was interrupted by a call from Kazan, planning a visit to discuss matters with Kasumi and Ayaka. In a dream, Hanoka imagined a startling revelation about Kamachi's secret affair and Ayaka's true parentage, only to wake up and realize it was just a dream. He found Ayaka preparing breakfast, reminding him of their living arrangement. After breakfast, Hanoka and Ayaka discussed activities to do while home alone, unaware that the jealous tower witches, including Tanpopo and Medusa, were locked in Ayaka's room. Frustrated, Tanpopo questioned Medusa, who revealed Ayaka was hiding them from Kazan, especially after the Hono seal was broken. The witches plotted to capture Hanoka in his sleep as a gift to Medusa. As the tower witches waited for Ayaka to fall asleep so they could ambush Hanoka, they eventually succumbed to their own exhaustion, while Ayaka remained vigilant throughout the night. The next day, while Ayaka and Hanoka were studying, Hanoka expressed a desire to learn fighting techniques, fearing he would become ineffective otherwise. Ayaka, however, urged him to focus on his studies to ensure they could attend the same college. As they rushed to bring in the clothes during a sudden rain, Kazan, Kamachi, and Kasumi returned from shopping. Hanoka, drying off in the bathroom, was ambushed by the tower witches, but Kazan, Ayaka, and Medusa quickly intervened. In a surprising turn of events, Ayaka merged with Medusa, causing Hanoka to faint and envision Medusa surrendering. Ayaka proposed an alliance with Medusa, offering her an apple of discord, which could merge the powers of 2 witches. During this process, Hanoka accidentally used his power to switch places with Ayaka, taking a hit meant for her. He found himself in a punishment room, unable to escape as the bars were immune to Ayaka's fire due to a protection provided by Kazan. With the seal now broken, Hanoka was in danger. Ayaka, realizing the severity of the situation, prepared to confront Kazan. Meanwhile, Kazan spoke with Kronoyer, discussing the interference of 2 witches from Rottenberg's workshop, who had taken Medusa before she could be interrogated. After an explosive escape, Hanoka and Ayaka braced for a confrontation with Kazan, but she was unaware of the broken seals and reprimanded Ayaka for her rash actions. Hanoka, relieved and amused by the situation, felt grateful to Ayaka for helping him escape. On the first day of school, Ayaka, accompanied by Kani and Talco, arrived late. Ayaka quickly became popular, though she was unfamiliar with the school's customs, relying on Kani for guidance. When some girls disrespected Talco at lunch, Ayaka walked away, choosing to spend time in the library. She excelled academically, achieving the highest score in a test. Ayaka's academic excellence led to jealousy among the seniors, who cornered her, Kani, and Tako, threatening to cut Ayaka's hair. Using her magic, Ayaka swiftly subdued them all. Meanwhile, she began visiting a boys' middle school and reading girl magazines, possibly to understand adolescent dynamics better. In Hanoka's dream, he saw Ayaka rushing towards him and Kasumi at the boys' school, seemingly jealous. Awakening from the dream, Kasumi found the tower witches having lunch at their home. To her dismay, Kamachi had accepted them as part of the family, causing tension between her and Kasumi. An awkward moment ensued as Ayaka, dressed as a nurse, checked on Hanoka. At dinner, Kasumi rebuked Hanoka for his actions. As student council president, Hanoka faced widespread resentment from students who desired his resignation, leading the school into chaos and rebellion against his leadership. A girl named Renan challenged Hanoka to a battle, but despite his efforts, he was overpowered until Ayaka intervened, knocking Renan out. Hanoka, exhausted, was posed as the victor by Ayaka and the others. The next day, Hanoka dreamed about Ayaka, waking up to find her beside him. She took him atop a building for combat training, noticing his physical exercises. Ayaka's close proximity during fire magic training made Hanoka nervous, leading to an intense session where she threw him off the building, instructing him to summon his familiar. Hanoka struggled to focus, and in a moment of connection with Ayaka, he accidentally summoned a giant nurse outfit-clad familiar resembling Ayaka, which caused destruction, including demolishing a training center recently purchased by Tanpopo. Kroner and Kaio, observing the chaos, shifted their conversation to Kazan's whereabouts. Kazan, with Renan, examined a magic circle. Renan reported that tower witches claimed to have taken the town's residents hostage. Upon waking, Hanoka apologized to Ayaka for fainting. He questioned her sudden interest in training him, realizing he felt a surge of power during his fight with Renan. Ayaka's motive was to bolster Hanoka's popularity and strength, aiming for him to eventually defeat Renan. In the midst of these chaotic events, Ayaka discovered that Renan was unaware of the plan involving Hanoka and rushed to protect him. As Hanoka reflected on the situation while watching the sunset, Ayaka remembered a childhood dream where she conversed with Hanoka, though they had not met at that time, sparking her determination to find him. The next morning, during breakfast, Kazan encountered Weekend, the architect behind the magic circle, a weapon capable of destroying the entire town. The town was under a special barrier, invisible to ordinary people, designed to protect them from magical attacks and maintained by Kazan's magic. When Weekend activated the circle, widespread destruction ensued. Kazan exerted all her power to protect the citizens, weakening herself and becoming captured by Weekend. Ayaka took Hanoka to a secret basement where other workshop witches, including Renan, were gathered. However, the meeting turned violent when one of the witches shot Hanoka, and Ayaka, linked to him, fell unconscious. Renan then rendered Kasumi unconscious and took both Hanoka and Ayaka to a hidden chamber, warning Hanoka against escaping. Both were unable to use magic and soon realized Kazan must have been defeated. After destroying a message-bearing toy, Ayaka and Hanoka emerged to find the town in ruins. As they attempted to navigate the disaster, Hanoka accidentally fell into a hole, but Ayaka quickly saved him. Renan received a message that Weekend had planted bombs set to explode in 30 minutes unless Hanoka surrendered. Ayaka defeated an enemy without magic, relying on her physical strength. Meanwhile, at workshop headquarters, efforts were underway to contact Ayaka and Hanoka, who had already escaped. The discovery that the bombs could be disarmed manually prompted Pronoyer to prepare for a confrontation with Weekend. Kasumi, alongside the Tower Witches, surmised that the bomb operator was likely inside the school. As the deadline approached, Hanoka formed a contract to become the town's protector, empowering Renan to disarm the bombs. However, the effort weakened Hanoka, causing him to faint. Renan captured Weekend in a magic-proof chamber, but Weekend used bombs to escape, injuring Renan and causing further harm to Hanoka. Ayaka helped Hanoka recover from the blast-induced vision of Weekend. In another part of town, Kroner was extracting information from a tortured tower witch. A Tory arrived with important documents for Ayaka and took over caring for Hanoka. At school, Kasumi fought a doppelganger enemy who replicated her moves and familiar. Medusa intervened, reprimanding her students for not engaging the enemy, and then departed with them, leaving Tempo behind. In a church, Weekend, waiting for Ayaka, had planted bombs throughout the building. In another dimension, Hanoka and Kaio faced an enemy attack, while Ayaka struggled in the church due to the bombs. Ayaka, transformed into her fire witch form, managed to corner Weekend despite the latter's use of additional bombs. These attacks had little effect on Ayaka due to her transformation. Meanwhile, Atori struggled to manage Hanoka's escalating fever. In the confrontation, Line nearly overpowered Ayaka, but Ayaka's magic proved superior. To bolster her strength, Ayaka switched her shirt with Hanoka, allowing her to tap into his powers. This exchange enabled her to summon her familiar and heal herself. Back in the real world, Atori updated Hanoka about Ayaka's situation. Receiving a call, Atori stepped out, and Kaio informed her of the enemy's defeat but warned of bombs planted that could destroy everyone's souls. Overhearing this, Hanoka, accompanied by Atori, rushed to the church. At the church, Ayaka, despite being severely injured, continued to fight Weekend. As Weekend detonated the church, Hanoka arrived to find Ayaka injured. Exhausted, Hanoka lost consciousness, leaving Ayaka to battle Weekend alone. Ayaka ultimately defeated Weekend, but not before Weekend activated the bomb switch, threatening to destroy souls. Elsewhere, Tanpo, wandering through the rubble, encountered Marin, who tried to communicate through their familiars. Tanpo learned that Kasumi was gravely injured and needed assistance. Weekend, seizing the opportunity, provoked Hanoka into using his powers, leading him into a trap. As Hanoka exerted himself, his body weakened, and he fell unconscious. Tanpo, meanwhile, carried an unconscious Kasumi on her back. Ayaka, rushing to Hanoka's side as he apologized, offered Everill's life in exchange for Hanoka's safety. However, this act drained Ayaka's powers, causing her to faint. At that moment, Weekend, seizing her chance, stabbed Hanoka in the back with a knife. In a desperate counterattack, Hanoka pulled out the knife and charged at Weekend. While Hanoka faced Weekend, he chose not to kill her, adhering to his principle of not becoming like his enemies. Weekend healed Hanoka before leaving the scene. Bori entered the church discreetly, avoiding Weekend. Inside, Atori found Hanoka with Ayaka lying in his lap. As the town returned to normal, Kasumi woke up, mistakenly thinking Tanpo was kidnapping her and ordered Macron to intervene. Despite Macron's attempts to explain, Kasumi refused to listen. Kayak Cairo contacted Atori, and Hanoka briefed him about the situation. Kroner, meanwhile, engaged in combat with Weekend and emerged victorious. Kayak Cairo instructed Hanoka on a ritual to re-establish his contract with Ayaka, which involved kissing her. Hanoka, shy and hesitant, struggled with this task. As Atori pushed him to proceed, Ayaka unexpectedly woke up on her own. Kroner confronted Weekend about her flawed plan, and Kazan, having regained her strength, decided to deal with Weekend. However, Kroner proposed to eat Weekend as punishment. Unwilling to relent, Kroner transformed into her true form, leading to a battle with Kazan, which Kazan narrowly won. Ayaka discussed breaking the contract with an unknown person. Hanoka and Kaio Cairo were then summoned before Evermillion, who explained that she broke her contract to return all power to Hanoka. His newfound strength had enabled him to save the town independently. Hanoka awoke in his bed and hurried to see Ayaka. Despite a small stumble, he was relieved and happy to find her there. As they walked to school, they encountered Medusa's disciples, but Ayaka swiftly dealt with them, restoring normalcy. The story concludes with Hanoka and Ayaka's journey back to normal life.
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.